Obsessive-Compulsive Disorder, or OCD, is one of those conditions that is often misunderstood. When people think of OCD, they might picture someone who is just really neat or someone who washes their hands a lot. But OCD is so much more than just that. It's not a personality trait. It's a disorder that can be incredibly overwhelming and life-consuming. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning and the first thought that hits you isn't about what you're going to do today or what you're looking forward to. It's about whether or not you locked the door last night. And no matter how many times you try to reassure yourself that you did, the thought just won't go away. It sticks to you like a glue, and it brings with it the wave of anxiety that you can't shake. The only way to calm that anxiety is to go and check. So you get up, check the door, feel relief for a moment, but then the thought creeps back in. This is the reality for many people with OCD. Obsessive-compulsive disorder is not just about being organized or overly cautious. It's about being trapped in the cycle of intrusive thoughts, which are obsessions, and then the repetitive behavior, which are compulsions. Obsessions are unwanted thoughts or images that won't leave, no matter how hard you try to ignore them. These thoughts can be so distressing that they can take over your mind. Think of it like having a song stuck in your head, but instead of music, it's a fear or worry that keeps repeating, and no matter what you do, it just won't stop. Compulsions are rituals or behaviors people feel compelled to perform to ease the anxiety caused by their obsessions. For example, someone might wash their hand repeatedly because they feel contaminated, or even though they know deep down that they're clean, or they might check the stove over and over to make sure that it's off, even though they have already checked it 10 times. What's truly fascinating is that OCD isn't just about cleanliness or checking things. Did you know that 10 to 30% of OCD struggle with hoarding? Their homes become so cluttered with that it affects their ability to live a normal life. And interestingly, the brain activity of people who hoard is different than those with OCD symptoms, which suggests that hoarding might be its own disorder altogether. But OCD isn't always obvious. Sometimes people can be diagnosed with OCD. A therapist has to rule out other conditions like generalized anxiety disorder or depression. For example, someone with GAD might worry about many things, but they won't develop rituals to ease their anxiety the way someone with OCD would. And sometimes people with OCD are mistaken for having a personality disorder, which is Obsessive-Compulsive Personality Disorder, OCPD, which is all about perfectionism and control, but without the intense unwanted thoughts. Here's someone you might not know. OCD doesn't always have a gender preference. It affects men and women equally. However, the disorder often starts in adolescence, with the average age of onset being around 19. People with OCD can spend hours each day stuck in obsessive thoughts and compulsions behavior. Think about it. An average of 6 hours consumed by obsession and 4.6 hours performing those rituals. That's nearly half a day. So where does OCD come from? The causes are both biological and psychological. There's a strong genetic link. If someone in your family has OCD, you are at a higher risk of developing it. If there are differences in the brain of people with OCD, especially in areas that control impulses related to things like aggression or hygiene. But what really stands out is how our brain responds to serotonin, a chemical that helps regulate the mood. People with OCD seem to have heightened sensitivity to serotonin, which could explain why the disorder is so difficult to manage. On a psychological side, people with OCD often have what's called a cognitive bias. Their brains are wired to focus on things that disturb them, whether it's germ, the fear of harm, or even unwanted, violent, and sexual thoughts. And here's something many people don't know. Trying to suppress those thoughts actually makes them worse. It's called the rebound effect. The more you try not to think about something, the more likely you are to think about it. So when someone with OCD tries to push away those intrusive thoughts, those thoughts come back stronger. That's why one of the most effective treatment for OCD is called exposure response prevention, ERP. This treatment is all about confronting your fears head on without giving in these compulsions. Let's say you're terrified of getting sick from touching a doorknob. ERP would involve touching that doorknob and then not washing your hand. It's tough, really tough, but over time it helps the brain unlearn that compulsion that are necessary to stay safe. Another important part of treating OCD is helping people challenge their thought. Many people with OCD have what's known as thought-action fusion. They believe that simply having a thought is same as acting on it. For example, someone might think, if I have a thought about hurting someone, it means I'm a bad person who could actually hurt someone. But that is not true. Thoughts and actions are not the same thing, and helping people separate these two is a key part of cognitive behavioral therapy. The last thing I want to emphasize is that intrusive thoughts are normal. Almost everyone has them, but for people with OCD, those thoughts feel dangerous and unbearable. Learning to accept those thoughts without letting them control you is a huge step toward managing this disorder. If you or someone you know is struggling with OCD, remember that it's not something you have to face alone. With the right treatment, people can break free from the cycle of obsession and compulsion and start living life on their own terms. I hope this video helped you understand OCD a little better. If you have any questions or experiences you'd like to share, drop them in the comments. And if you found this video helpful, please feel free to share it with someone who might benefit from it. Thanks for watching, and remember, your thoughts don't define you, but how you choose to face them can make all the difference.